Hello everyone. Today in the second podcast of Futurepreneurs, I'm going to talk to Tom Meyers, and we are going to talk about a lot of amazing topics from futurepreneurship to immortality and a lot of amazing topics. Tom Meyers is a futurepreneur from Belgium. He is an osteopath and body center stress coach with a private practice in Brussels, a well-being futurist, speaker, author, and founder and international instructor of the Reset Approach, a novel body-mind educational healing approach. Tom's mission is to help you flourish in the flow of evolution and thrive in this fast-changing, uncertain, and challenging world by empowering you to futurize on purpose in body, mind, and spirit. So welcome, Tom. We had a short introduction, but I want you to introduce yourself to our listeners and talk a little bit more about yourself and especially about the recent activities that you had.
All right, I'm Tom. Some people call me Tom the Health Navigator because I'm an osteopath, body-centered stress coach. I'm also the founder and the instructor of a new approach called Reset Approach, which is a manual approach that I teach to physiotherapists for helping them to upskill for the new health and well-being problems of today and the future, which is a lot about stress and the fast-changing world that is just overwhelming us. And we don't seem to have means to deal with the physical problems that are actually related to, just too many demands on our body. Yes, it can create musculoskeletal pain. Yes, it can create headaches. Even long COVID can be related to this, what is now called dysautonomia. But I'm also on the side of that well-being futurist and written now 2 books about it. Futurize Yourself, book 1, Design Your Life on Purpose, and Futurize Yourself, The Future's Effect, Change Your Story, Change Your Future, which is in a way my own experience, insights from the last 22 years, because I've not always been a osteopath. I have a background in catering, being a chef de cuisine, that's what I was trained, working in hotels, work on cruise ships. And then after 8 years, so it was when I was between 20 and 28, that was like wandering the world. I came back to Belgium, to where I'm from, and didn't know what to do. And a friend of mine said, from 8 on, why don't you start a gourmet deli? So in the 8 years I had gone, he had created this very successful business. And when he came with that idea, what I saw was his big BMW car, his motorbike, his big house, his wife. I didn't want her, but I didn't have any girlfriend at the time. His kid and the success he had. And say, wow, I've been wandering the world. I have nothing to show for it, but what he wants, I can have now. Thank you very much. It's like a present. And opened the shop 9/9/99. And 2 months later, I was depressed, suicidal. Life hadn't always been favoring me, because I've done many things, but it was like these very short ups and many more downs. I easily was prone for depression, for going very low. And this one was the lowest I've ever had been. And I wanted to really give up on life, because I thought, if life is like this, then I just don't want it. I think it's made no sense that there was no evolution, that life was not a place where you can actually grow as a person, that you could fulfill your aspirations. And that is the moment where I was given the advice to go and get help.
Right.
And That is very difficult because for me, I mean, for most people, it's already difficult. But my mother has been ill all her life. Went to see psychologists, psychiatrists all through my youth. And for me, like going to seek help, I didn't think I was ill. My mother was ill. And so to get advice, I thought that was only for ill people. And I didn't consider myself ill.
Right.
But in a way, I was not well. Let's say it like this. And so it was the local pharmacist, Anna Marie, who said to me, Tom, you need to get some help. And it was the best thing I've ever done because through that help, I was able to, in a way, go back to the past and say hey, look at it from this point of view, change your perspective, then find my potential and give that potential a future.
Right.
And say okay, what can these, I was taught this, I was given the questions and I'm using the, let's say the homework to then project that potential that I had found through the coaching. 10 years from that moment. So that was then 20, so we were 2000, so 2010. And then say okay, how would that future be like? What do I really want? What do I want to feel? What are my aspirations? And what do I have within to develop? Right. And I thought wouldn't it make sense that if I was more into my potential, that I was doing what I was born to be doing, and which was nothing to do with catering. There was a therapist in me, a communicator, a teacher, a researcher, and a traveler. That's what had emerged from the questions, that had to emerge from the coaching and the help. Right. I said, if I'm born with this, wouldn't that make sense that my life would be more fulfilled or have more sense if I develop that? So I imagined the future and then started to make that into an ongoing reality. So that's a bit about, the story of my life. And today, so I'm 52, all of that, what I've written.
Definitely, you look much younger.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm a good representation of what I do.
Yes, that's really important.
But that is, I've been able to realize everything I've said that I was out to achieve 22 years ago.
Amazing.
And so my books are about that experience. And through writing, it's also about the insights that I have now that I never realized. So I did this somewhere, suddenly I had a future and I just said okay, let's go for it. But now looking back, I see so many principles that one can use for life improvement, self-improvement, self-transformation, that I never really realized. But writing just makes these clear to me.
Right.
And so I'm a very intuitive writer. I start writing when the moment is right, and then I start, and then suddenly these ideas come up, and I write the ideas as they come in the story.
Right. Amazing.
And
that's great.
And that's how also that I started to realize by looking at a film at one particular time on YouTube, because that also happens, that there are coincidences. Suddenly you get this video or you get this article that suddenly shows up into your life and then says, hey, wow, I was just writing about that. And it was Gert Leonard, a futurist and also member of the World Future Studies Federation, whose film was about the changes and about the future. And that only then I started to realize, when reading his book and reading up on futures thinking, that I said, my God, I've been doing that for the last 16 years.
Right.
And so the book got a completely different dimension.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing story. Thank you for sharing your story. So, Tom, both of us, we are a member of WFSF, World Future Studies Federation. I want to ask you, that when was the first time that you really got interested into studying about the future a little bit more academically, because as you said, we always are thinking about the future, but we are not aware that out there is something that actually, if we learn it, we can do it much better. We can understand and see the future much better and shape, our future. So when exactly was that you started and you thought that, okay, now I need to become a member of this organization and maybe to study more and more?
It was, during that writing process of that first book. So that was that first book took me 4 years to write. Mm-hmm. So it was in the last part, so 2017, when I saw that video, when I started to say hey, there is this kind of futures thinking world out there. And there are some philosophies about this that I actually never had heard of. And so one book came from Gert Leonard, came down another book and another book and another book. And that's how I got really interested. I also, when the book came out in 2018, that it got a complete new dimension that I also needed to integrate for a while. So it took about a year that I say wow, this is so great. And then, you come across the different organizations, and I was not sure to be a member. Who am I? I'm an osteopath, right?
Right.
I don't really felt like a futurist as yet. And to promote my book, I also thought hey, we must do more about this, because if I can do this, if I see that I've been, making that kind of futures thinking an ongoing reality into my life, and it has improved my life, I want more people to know about this. So I did create a TEDx Filmworte on WTF, what the future.
Yeah.
And there, I also invited futurists. Mm-hmm. And Maya van Leemput, also a member of the Federation, is one of the most known futurists and one of the 50 leading female futurists of the world, who is here in Brussels.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a couple of kilometers away from me. So I invited her, and she said yes. And that's how I got to know then, to say, I think through her, because she was interested in my view. Now, right. She's a professional, she's a teacher. She was interested in my view. Then I said, okay, then I have something to share. And that's, become then, okay, now I want to be part of this federation.
Yeah, amazing.
And to delve a little bit more into what is often forgotten, I see, in many of the futures thinking that is out there. It's very much concentrated on business. Mm-hmm. True. And that's, of course, extremely important. But I'm, as a futurepreneur of a multi-billion dollar organization, now multi-billion cell organization. Yeah. This is the body, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
right.
I want to bring into that kind of futures thinking into the more, what about this body that is made of different trillions of cells? How can we also include that in our futures thinking? Mm-hmm. And personal development, and the personal futures, which, there are some books about it, but not that many. And also I see it in business-wise, in futurepreneurship, is that, but don't forget that the state of your body changes your behavior, changes your time perspective, changes the way you think, because of, and let us keep it simple, because of stress. Stress is about here and now. Mm-hmm. So also, when you're in a stress response, you are in a survival response that only thinks about yourself.
Right.
And maybe your family. So if we're not going to deal with our increased stress levels and increasing stress levels, because change, and in the next 10 years, we'll have more change than the next 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not going to focus a little bit of our time on that element, body, mind, and spirit, then you can dream as much as you want. But that dreaming, that imagining is going to be influenced by the way your brain functions, by the way your body's fear, and the future is already fearful because it's
because it's unknown,
open,
somehow, right?
It's unknown.
Yeah.
So and unknown is for us also a very stressful thing.
Right.
That is going to influence us, and so we can avoid that.
Right. Yeah.
Because we want to have a future, right? We want to flourish and thrive in a fast-changing world.
Right. Exactly.
But who is going to do that? It's this multi-billion organization, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. By the way, Tom, actually, I've been thinking always that we as human beings, instinctively, we are all futurists in terms of not professional futurists, in terms of that we always think about the next minute, moment, the next day, the next year. Thousands of years ago, hunter-gatherers, those who thought more about the future, what to do, how to prepare for, natural disasters, they were more successful, right? So kind of we are always thinking about the future. At the same time, we can say that somehow we are all entrepreneurs, right? Because from thousands of years ago, again, we started dealing with different nations, buying and selling and creating business, all the things. But now, in that we can say 20th, 21st century, we have two different fields that academically thousands of people have been working on that, right? And I was really thinking between these two because as long as I remember, when I was 7, I started my first small business, So since 7, I've started selling things. Yeah, small things, sometimes making things by myself, selling to the children around. But it's been like about 12 years that professionally I have established a company and I'm working in this field of entrepreneurship. But again, just last year, I thought that if we can, actually, it started from a question. What if entrepreneurs can have the knowledge of futurists, okay, so that they can be prepared for a future of business technologies? They know the signals, the trends, the VUCA world that we are living in. And if they know more, probably it can be very, very helpful for them to have a much better and successful business. And at the same time, I said, okay, then what if futurists have that ability of entrepreneurs to create solutions out of the problems and make a business out of it, okay? And then I really came up with the word of futurepreneur, which already was there, this word, but nobody has been using it in this term, that we, let's say, mix the future thinking or future studies with entrepreneurship. And I started talking to many futurists and entrepreneurs, and it was really interesting for them. And that's why I invited you. And I'm really happy that you accepted this notion very quickly. I mean, you already have been a futurepreneur. I believe in that, because already you had a business, already you are thinking about the future. But now, what I have started, as you know from my podcast, that is about the futurepreneurs. The aim really is this, to mix this together so that I believe that we can get much, much better result. Tell me your ideas about this. How do you think maybe it can give you another, point of view from this being both a futurist and entrepreneur?
Well, I firmly believe in what you're saying with futurepreneurship. I think the future is collaboration. The future is bringing all our knowledge together and combining them. We have, for too long, always walked our own path, the path of the entrepreneur and the path of the futurist. And that is very obvious in my own story, in the sense that I had never heard of futurism or future entrepreneurship um, until 2017, while that has been going on for so many decades already. And so, but this is also what life is all about. And now we are seeing the challenges of a fast changing world are very different than they were before. And so the entrepreneur is seeing that copy pasting what they've been doing before is of course not working. And I mean, as entrepreneur of a business, and also from a health perspective, what we've been doing all along was very good for the past, but is not so good, and definitely doesn't make us go forward in a healthy way. If we want to flourish as human beings, and if we want to thrive as a business, I make this distinction. Flourishing, I see it more for personal issues, and thriving as a business issue, then we must come together. And we cannot just keep on doing what we've been doing. We need to create the scenarios of the future for ourselves and for businesses to say, okay, what are the different aspects of the future? What can happen? And that is where the futures thinking and approach comes from. And then we bring it into the business and say okay, this is a scenario. For example, in myself, I'm an osteopath today, but so that is fulfilling my role as a therapist. But is osteopathy still needed in 10 years' time? Or am I still, and that's one scenario. Second scenario is, am I still capable physically to do osteopathy? What happens if I'm not physically capable to do that anymore? What is my alternative? So when you sit out these are the two scenarios of many. Let's say there is a complete climate catastrophe. What am I going to do then? So, but then I can always, in every situation, I can prepare myself, okay, for an alternative. So instead of physical work, because osteopathy is a body approach, it's physical. So I can start doing a therapy in a coaching session or something like that. But when the world, with all the energy goes down and there is chaos, what can I do? Well, I can still be useful for people, right? And it can be an exchange of, I'm going to help you because you have a blocked back, or you're completely stressed and anxiety, and everything is overwhelming you. I can calm you down. The only thing I can have in change, can I have some food? Can I have some water? So you see, I've created these kind of scenarios in my mind. Even I have a scenario for when I'm 80 and I'm in a retirement home, right? In a retirement home, what will I do? I will help I will just listen, because therapy is a lot about listening, right? Anyway, so this is where these two worlds come together. We need to think like futurists, because the world is changing very fast. And the more that we can create scenarios and be more and create the flexibility that is in an ongoing reality, so that at any moment we are able to adapt for the things that we can already predict, but also for the unexpected. So the more that we have what I call a DNA of the future, to which we can always fall back onto. And DNA, as you know from the biology, but DNA also stands for that does not alter. So find that what does not alter from now on to the rest of your life, or in a business where you can fall back on to. That creates stability, and you can build on that. And that's also one of the Jeff Bezos's theories, built on that what does not alter. Right? Like reading, people will continue reading, but I will change the way they're going to read. So DNA, it is something that does not alter, but can be expressed in different ways, built on that. So again, so from the entrepreneurship, you want to do business, okay, but from a futures perspective, but what is your business, and how can that express in different ways depending on the scenarios of the future that might happen? Because that will make your business thrive, and also your people, right?
Right.
Because a business is related with people. You don't do it on your own. It doesn't happen on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
completely, I completely understand why you want to improve, why you are focusing on this, and why you think that that we need to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm completely with you on that one, Dan.
Thank you so much. Okay, as you know already, maybe you have seen our MTP, or massive transformative purpose, which let's say futurepreneurs should have. Actually, my MTP is to create value and wealth for everybody, and how we can do that by, I think, solving the challenges, the global challenges that we have. Because, for every business, actually, they start with a problem, okay? And then someone comes and said, okay, how can I solve this problem? How can I give the service or product, produce a product so that I can solve this problem? And then the business is going to be there. And I think futurepreneurs are thinking much, much bigger than just an entrepreneur who wants to make money, all right? Futurepreneurs are looking for change, are looking for transform the world in this, let's say, situation that we are, to a better place, to a better world that we are living in. Okay, I want to know that. Okay, probably if you have already thought about it, what is your MTP, or that transformative purpose that you are looking for, that you are just trying to make?
I used the words already before, but I want to help people to flourish in the flow of evolution and thrive in a fast changing world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
is, you could say, my MTP. That is what I'm stand for. And how I do that is by helping people on a body, mind, spirit level. So and spirit, I mean meaning and purpose.
Okay.
And also by bringing into that health
Mm-hmm.
and well-being aspect, that aspect of futurism,
Right.
which has helped me so much, and which is
Mm-hmm.
helping me every day, and I can't see that I don't see that changing. So it's about helping not only the physical level, but also the mind and the spiritual level, so that indeed we, as a person, as a society, as a nation, and at the end, from a global perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of interest into astronauts and to seeing the world as one. So that overview perspective,
Right.
So to really see it as we are here as one. We are not separate.
Right.
What happens somewhere in the world has an influence on can have an influence on everybody. Somewhere along the line, it influences. Look at COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
It happens, if it happened in China, in a small group of people, and maybe in one, but it's a behavior that suddenly has rocketed our whole business, and has shaped our businesses, our personal health and well-being, and every aspect of our life. So imagine this, that how connected we are, right? So from every single part of the world, something can happen, and it can happen from me.
Butterfly effect, right? Something happens somewhere.
Butterfly effect. So it can happen from me in a positive way. So I'm seeing it in a positive way. So if I'm implementing in a positive way, if I live what I stand for, and when I'm going to talk, I try to be mindful of my words. And we are human, so it's not that I don't make mistakes and everything like that, but I learn from them as much as I can. So it's to be that conduit also of change towards what I see as a world that is flourishing and thriving, right? No matter how the world changes, and no matter how the world is influenced by or digital transformation, climate change, that of course we need to do something about today, or no matter if some other aspect is going to change, how can we still thrive and evolve as we can as human beings?
Yeah.
And yes, I don't mind if we go to other planets for exploration. I think great, somebody has to start that. And I think we are, in a way, we are, as they say, stardust. So we have to go back to the
Yeah.
stars. Why not? It might be not in my lifetime, but I will help. And this is one of the, my aspirations for this world and for myself, because it's never disassociated. Right? So what I want for myself, I want for others. Yeah. And I have an acronym, and it's great. And these are the 5 chapters, so to speak, of the second book, The Futures Effect. Is I want to have a good future, i.e. life. I want to be resilient. I want to evolve as a person, evolution. And grow. I think everybody wants that. So I want to be actionable, doing things that are actually possible. It doesn't mean that you can't put the bar very high.
Yeah.
But by knowing yourself, you know also where you can put that bar. Even though if you've never done anything like that. I was selling charcuterie, cheese, wine, and I imagined myself being a therapist, right? So that's far from my bed job, but it was in me, so I could imagine it that it was possible. And transcendence is the T, is transcending limiting beliefs, but also I hope that by the end of my lifetime, I made a difference in my lifetime that transcends my life and just also counts for the next generation.
Right. That's amazing.
So this is what I want from me. And that's, in a way, that is what I want from everybody.
Yeah.
This great future is, I directed it in what I'm saying here on this podcast about myself. But this is not disassociated, I say it again, to what I want for others.
Right. Amazing.
And this is one part of my DNA. It does not change. Even at 90, I still want that. And the other aspect of health is, of course, I want to feel content, fulfilled, and healthy. I think don't everybody want this?
Yeah. Okay.
But actually, so these are my 2. So I just finished this. These are my 2 strands of my DNA. That does not alter, never. And then, of course, my potential as a therapist, a communicator, teacher, researcher, and a traveler is the way I'm going to realize that over time. And I'm already doing that. And this is what I also want other people to understand, that this DNA of the future, this kind of, model, if you integrate that, if you start doing your homework and starting to find out your strengths and your bonds, how you can, actually have that as that kind of overview perspective of your life in the world, always.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Actually, the way that you see the world from your point of view, it's amazing. And it can really be the point that if we think as you think, we can really change our life and transcend it to a higher level. By the way, Tom, I've been really interested in that healthy lifestyle since like 15 years ago. And actually, we started a community, and I called it, and we are trying now to make it just like an international community for people who really are interested to live as healthy as possible. And I've called it 120-year young club. When people ask you, everybody, sometimes they ask me, how old are you? I say, okay, you mean how young I am? And I say, okay, actually I'm 20, because in my mind, my emotional, my psychological age for me is 20. And I stopped it there, really, because I believe, and I have tried to live and let's say as healthy as possible, do whatever is possible. We have a lot of technologies are coming right now, anti-aging, rejuvenation, stop aging. And I really want to ask you this, that, during the COVID, we had like thousands of deaths every single day. And this actually came the whole world to this point that we need to do something for it. And billions of dollars, hundreds and thousands of scientists and companies, they got together and they finally found a solution for it, right? So my question is this: that every single day there are 100,000 single people are dying from aging every single day. It means before I finish this sentence, tens of hundreds of people have died from aging. Why humanity is not taking such a huge action they did for COVID that only killed thousands of people, let's say, in the max actually. But now every single day we see, I know there are a lot of companies, Google, Tesla, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Facebook and all of them, they are working on that. But it's not like the unity that we had in the COVID time. Why do you think it's like that? Do you think it's because we have accepted the notion of death, or as some anti-aging scientists said that, okay, death is only a disease that can be cured. And we see that during the last 100 years, we have doubled our lifespan. And we are going to double it in the next maybe 20 or 30 years. So we are going to live healthier and healthier. So why not to do it to stop this actually aging and death problem much faster? What do you think about this?
So your question is very interesting. However, I have a very, very personal view on this. So I know that many people are listening from very different cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, and so forth. So I don't want to upset anybody, and I don't want to create, kind of problems with what I'm going to say.
Right.
But my personal view is death is part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Are we, when we are dying, is there nothing afterwards? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have accepted that there is more to life than this. And that life is but a speck in the longer view of evolution, and also that my soul or whatever animates me lives on. And so I want all these billions for longevity to be used for better purposes. I don't believe that this money is well invested.
Mm-hmm.
There is a bonus, however, that I may not neglect, is that while we are looking for longevity, we are also finding solutions for health and well-being problems of today. But to come back to that question, for me, let's live better lives so that when we are dying, which is going to happen, is going to be with a sense of fulfillment, and that we created that great life for ourselves and others. Because I believe that maybe, just maybe, that fear of dying is because we haven't realized ourselves. And do you really think that by just extending life, that we will feel better when we die? I don't think so, unless you have created the meaning and the purpose in your life. And meaning and purpose, and I hear this in my practice a lot, people say, but I haven't found my purpose yet. And then I ask, have you been looking? Or have you given your life a purpose? And then they suddenly fall off their throne and say, what do you mean? Purpose doesn't come to you, but maybe you have to give your life a purpose. This is also part of what I write about in my books, that maybe we should change the perspective of meaning and purpose. And
Right.
that from a futurist point of view, when we imagine the future we want to have, or let's say that we create the scenarios of the future that we then going to realize. And if you develop and if you imagine it based on your potential, on how you want to feel and your aspiration, I bet you're very, very close to your purpose of life. from a soul's perspective. So I believe let's live better lives, more fulfilled lives.
Right.
And forget
Quality.
about getting, aging longer. I really don't want to live longer. I just want to have a meaningful life.
Right. Yeah. Actually, my focus is also on this. I mean, when we think that if you can live as healthy as possible, then you don't care actually about death, because death can happen everywhere, not only about aging. Because among this, statistics that I told you, we have 50,000 people dying from accident every single day, right? So probably if aging is not going to kill you, probably an accident can, right? So what exactly I'm focusing on is here this, to live as healthy as possible and not caring too much about it, all right, that how long you are going to, but the quality is definitely much, much important than the quantity. So Tom, let's move a little bit more to another question again for futurepreneurs questions. Well, I've been involving in teaching about entrepreneurship and the future thinking to children, actually. And we already had in some schools and taught them how to think and what is future at all, all right? And we found it very interesting that the new generation, Gen Z, they know much, much better about the future than us, because they grown up with this technologies that we didn't have, right? So my question is this: what do you think about teaching these notions from the early ages? Because I really wish someone told me all the things when I was 10. And definitely my life was different if I knew all the things. So what do you think? Do you think that we should really teach this stuff about the futurepreneurship to the children, or no, maybe we need to just let them to wait until later ages? What do you think?
Yeah, I would like to combine that question with something else, and that is, why don't we think more about the future, right? Why haven't we integrated it so far? And this is, of course, from an evolutionary point of view, we haven't had to, or we didn't have the chance, because we were trying to survive today and tomorrow, and most of our body and behavior is created thousands and thousands of years ago.
Right.
Yeah. And where survival of today was the most important thing, right? So only now in the last 10, 20, let's say last 50 years, we've been able to think a little bit longer, but it takes us a long time to adapt to new ways of thinking. And of course, the second part is that we've never been taught to do it. And this is why this is so important, to start very early, to teach young people to, work with the future, to improve their present. And because, of course, if we know, it's very clear that the decisions, the choices and actions and inactions we make, that's the future. And that is what is going to influence our future.
Yeah.
So again, our decisions, choices, actions, and inactions, that is what is influencing the future. So let's realize that, and let's realize that from a very young age, that the decisions, the choices, and actions and inactions they make have an influence on the future, on their future, and everybody else's future.
Exactly.
And everybody else's future on your future, right? So yes, we need to start educating that, so that young people that are the future have already this futurist mindset.
Yeah.
And that is a part of what I call evolving on purpose. Evolution is too slow to help us evolve and cope with the environment that we have created. So there is a clash between biology and culture. True. This clash is part why we have so much stress in our lives, because that stress response that is thousands of years old has not had a decent update, right? And so the stress response is actually become a stressor itself, because it's not responding, or it's responding in a very physical way for things that have absolutely no need for a physical response. Heart rate doesn't have to go up when you get that special email that has a bit of angriness to
Notification.
it. And but you need to have it when you're in the middle of a street and a car is coming, right? You need to have that heart rate go up, that the muscles tense up, and you need to jump, not think about your next meal or the color of that car, right? Because it stops that.
Right.
So if evolution is too slow, because it needs generations to do adaptation, then we need to add an aspect of evolution on purpose.
Right.
That we are consciously helping us to evolve. And that is where
Accelerated,
education
actually.
comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have that potential. When we are imagining our next holiday, what are you doing? You're a futures thinking, right? So you're thinking about your next holiday, thinking about scenarios, possible scenarios. So maybe there, maybe there, maybe there. And then you choose one, a preferred one. And then you start to think about what I'm going to do. So that's, again, scenario thinking. And then every time you think about your future holiday, you think, oh, it's holiday soon. Oh, it's going to be great. How do you feel? Like futures thinking over longer periods of time is exactly the same thing. And it gives you exactly the same kind of feelings that have associated with thinking about your holiday.
Yeah.
But again, if we bring that kind of knowledge, that kind of inspiration to children, then we will be able to evolve on purpose. And I'm going to add I'm thinking from the body. Yeah, I'm an osteopath, so that is my job, right?
Yeah.
And, your digestion is automatic, right?
Right.
But you need to eat. You need to eat so that digestion can happen. And here is the same thing. So we need to think as a futurist. We need to bring new kind of ideas, inspirations, the way of creating the world into that what is already automatic.
Right.
And so that the combination of the two will give us the energy, will give us the satisfaction, and will give us actually, the sustenance that we so much want.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and as you said before, our bodies are futurists in many ways. It's always thinking about the next problem, but in a very short term. Now we have to just extend that a little bit. And education is the way forward. And if we can start early, my God, it's going to make a great difference.
As you said, education, which I believe actually is terrible right now, not only in our country, I believe in all countries, education is teaching children something that in the next 5 to 10 years will be obsolete. Jobs and skills and abilities that they're not going to use it in the next 5 to 10 years. So, in the past, actually, people just waited to future to happen for them. But when we use future thinking, by thinking about the future, we correct our decisions right now, what to do. And by changing what to do right now, we are creating the future. So we are not just let's say a person who is waiting for future to happen for them. So I'm so happy that you are on the same page with this, because some people say that, no, this is not something necessary, children should. But I believe that beside futurepreneurship, there are some skills, like they say, 21st century skills, which is really different from what we were taught at school. Children should learn them because they are going to live in a really, really different world that we are living now.
Yeah, we need to create adaptive children, right? And also able to project themselves, to able to prepare for different scenarios. So yes, education is the way forward. And again, what we're at the moment doing is just copy pasting the past, right? We've been taught this, we have to continue teaching that. But today we require something very different. The world for today and the world what is going to be in the future is very, very different than the slow pace that we've been brought up to. And I'm born in 70, right? I still remember the first black and white TV, no computers and so forth. Exactly. And then if you see what is coming out every year, it's just incredible. And also, with social media, and we seem to be very distracted. And so how do you undistract? It's by
Mhm.
creating scenarios of the future, or at least a preferred future, because that keeps you focused on the essence of life. Of, again, to say at the end of the day, it has been meaningful because I've been able to focus, and through futures thinking, we can create that focus that is so much needed, especially in children, because they get distracted more easily. Because children play, yeah? Children want to have lots of different experience, but we
Right.
can give them all of these experiences, but in a more
Mhm.
focused way. And of
Yeah.
course, it's going to change a lot in their development, and also who they will be later.
Yeah,
At this
exactly.
moment, I'm hearing a lot of businessmen and employers say from that people, that some of the new recruits that they get, that they want a lot, but they don't realize that you have to work for it.
Right.
They also are very quickly upset if
Mhm.
you tell them off, because they've never been, a lot of them have never been told off. They've never been
Right.
learned to think by themselves. And
True.
so, when challenges come, they feel like they don't have power to cope with that.
Mhm.
So, but now a new generation is stepping up. I believe that is changing
Right. Exactly.
with that generation Z, and let's support them. Let's support them to be the
Mhm.
leaders, future thinking leaders that they can be,
Exactly.
and to also feel not everybody needs to be a leader, but when they're doing what they're doing, that they feel good about it, and
They
that they
can be
see
the
the whole
leader of their
picture
life, they lead their life at
yeah,
least, right? Not necessarily a
of a
political,
multi-billion dollar
economical
organization.
leader. Exactly. That's really important. If you lead your body, you can lead your life, you can lead other people, organizations, because as you said, it's the first organization that we have to lead is our body, right? So after that, yeah,
That's
we
right.
can lead others. By the way, Tom, really, I enjoy listening to you, and I'm learning. I can listen to you for hours and hours, but unfortunately, our time is limited. For the last question, I want you in 2 minutes. Tell me a little bit about the center that you have in Belgium. I'm really interested. And probably next year, which probably that is the 50th anniversary of WFSF in Paris, all right? Probably we will be there. And hopefully, if we are there, probably we are going to visit you there in Belgium and visit your center. So tell us a little bit more about your center, what services you have there.
Well, it's osteo and co. So basically, what I have here is a health and well-being practice where most of the time people still come for physical ailments, blocked back, neck, shoulder pain, and I help them to reset, and so that speedier recovery, or complete recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, I'm helping people who are open to that, who ask questions, just to give them that perspective of the future as well,
Mm-hmm.
within the session, because I think it's so important, as you said earlier on, the first business is our business, and that is that body. So there
Mm-hmm.
is a part of an educational aspect. So I call it a body, mind, and educational practice.
Okay.
It has 2 rooms. I have a colleague, Giuseppe, who is an osteopath, and I have somebody's doing some foot reflexology. So it's really small, but it's my center, my physical center of myself. Also,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
in the mornings I don't, or most of the time, except for Fridays, I keep for myself to be
Mm-hmm.
creative and to write my books, and to really think about everything that I can put out there or forward, or that I'm asked to put out there, like courses that I'm giving in India about the reset approach, or this conversation, or a workshop, and so forth. So it really is a practice for the health and well-being in a large, in its largest possible platform. So body, mind, and spirit, because I feel that is let's say that most people only look at symptoms,
Right.
and And if it's not only the symptom, that they go to more of the biomechanical aspects of the symptom. And I just want to go a couple of steps more backwards. Autonomic nervous system, also meaning and purpose in life, and change. What's changed in your life recently? I'm asking that quite a lot. Where is you have neck pain? Okay, what do you think? Where does that come from? I don't know. And then I'm asking a little bit further from, okay, what has happened and changed in your life? What have been the challenges? What have you been doing? And I'm asking like random questions. But what I want to do is get a story of their life for the last 3-4 months. And then you can start seeing already some connections. And then I'm just, hey, maybe have you thought about this or have you thought about that? And then you're touching the body. And again, the person comes with a problem and has forgotten that he has some other problems as well. And then when you start treating the body, you start feeling, oh, but something is happening here that doesn't seem to be right. And I'm asking, what happened there? Mm-hmm. So, quick stories. There was a person that I treated who came for vertigo. And suddenly, 10 days ago, she started to have vertigo really badly. And she had to give some presentations, and she wasn't sure she could go on a plane. And so, okay, let me look at it. So I treated her, and suddenly I felt on her chest, on the right-hand side, a blockage. And it was really, not a small one, really like compacted. And say, what happened here? Oh, I got stuck in a revolving door 10 days ago. And the next day I got the vertigo. And for her, she never connected the vertigo with being stuck in a revolving door and cracking a rib. But for me, it was clear that is a moment of where the body has a fright, where you are in a big angst moment from, oh, how are we going to get out of here? You have pain. So the overwhelming the autonomic nervous system that can create tension in the neck, that can create tension to the ear. And I treated her in one session and problems gone, right? So it's not only the personal story, it's also the body story. Exactly. She never told me about this revolving door accident and things like that, because for her it was unrelated. Yeah, exactly. But of course, then when she heard her own words, this cracked rib and so forth, and the next day, suddenly she connected it as well. And that's part of the healing system, because she thought, because of a parental problem as well, she thought that, she was, had a sort of brain tumor. Yeah. And so that created more anxiety. And suddenly when we were able to connect somewhere what she had experienced with what she had, of course, and said, oh yeah. And then suddenly already you are less anxious. Yeah. And then healing can happen as well. If you're in an angst situation, healing is very difficult. Right. So this is what I do. And I also want to do that around the world. So I've been luckily to be invited to Jordan once for treatment of a patient there. And this is something that I want to do in the future. Just to be asked to, okay, can you go and help me? Because these are business people, right? They can afford that, to ask me to come there. But if I treat the business person, I'm treating the whole company, right? Right.
Exactly, that's true.
Because that business person, the state of that business person has an effect. The way he can future think or not has an effect on the business.
Absolutely.
So when I'm invited, I'm very aware that this might seem like, well, that's a luxury thing and you get paid a lot for that. Yes, but I am treating the whole company. We're treating that one person.
Yeah, everything is interconnected.
That is, of course, the state of that person's health and well-being has an effect on the whole company.
Exactly. Actually, you have to tell them to see that the big picture, right? Not only focus in one part, and this part is,
Yeah. So yes, that's what I want to do. I want to help business people because I know that the world depends on them. The world as their company, the people in the company, and the world as the product they're bringing.
Right. That's true.
I'm thinking big.
Amazing.
Right?
That's great. That's what all the futurepreneurs actually should do, and they do it by the MTP that they have. Thank you so much. At the end of our podcast, if you want to add anything else or tell us that where our listeners can read and know more about you? Probably a link, your website, your social media.
Yeah, so futurizeyourself.com or meyerstom.com, and find me on LinkedIn, Tom Meyers, the Belgian one, not the Canadian one or the other one, but
yeah,
it's also LinkedIn Myerstom. So there it will be in the footnotes in the podcast. But please connect with me. If you have a question, if something came up, send it to me. You can send it by WhatsApp. You can send it by email. And I will always respond.
That's great. Thank you so much. And by the way, we are having a plan for the next year, probably 2023, to have a gathering of some futurepreneurs, still not sure that when exactly and where, but I'm sure that I will invite you and some other people. So maybe even if you cannot come, just you can join us online so that we extend this society, this community, and try to help, both the futurists, entrepreneurs, and all people who are interested to make a great impact on their life and the life of other people. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for your time, and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's a really pleasure to be invited on your Futurepreneurship podcast. It's always a pleasure to talk, and please, invite me because we want to make a difference, and that is what we're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you so much.